your preferred partner for custom software development and technology outsourcing. We offer state-of-the-art customized software development services that are client-centric, flexible, and secure to empower businesses.
Hey, it's Rich Tehrani. We're at ITEXPO 2021 in Miami Beach, Florida, and we're thrilled to have you watching. Tom Martin's with us. He is with Clients Networks. How are you?
Great. Glad to be here. First time traveling. I can't believe it.
Yeah, likewise for me. I started traveling about a week ago, but yeah, this is my first conference, and thrilled to see you in person.
It's Rich. It feels like a century has gone by, but really glad to be back down here.
That, and it's weird that I feel like I've lost some of my people skills because all my interaction with humans was pre-scheduled and preordained, and like the random interactions I'm having at the show with people I've known, it's almost like your brain is not accustomed to it because you're just, they've all been scheduled for 17 months.
I mean, this in-the-moment interactions of like, oh, hey, Rich, good to see you, and suddenly you're like coming up on the fly with scripts, remembering stuff, versus like, oh, I'm going to prepare. I'm meeting Rich at 2 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can have a conversation without an itinerary. I mean, it's just blows you away.
What I can say is like I've smiled more in the past few days than I've smiled in a long time because it's so great to be like real human beings.
So, I've known your company for a long time, and there's some people who may not be as familiar with it. Could you give us the elevator pitch?
Yeah, so Glance provides what we call guided CX. It's really around human-guided digital engagement. We recognize that customers go through all kinds of digital workflows, but sometimes they actually need to speak with a human being, and when they can connect with someone who can guide them through that experience by being able to see, show, and share anything, actually turn on agent video to sit there and say, hey Rich, it's Tom, I'm right here, and deliver meaningful outcomes by helping businesses drive conversion rates, drive revenue, and create efficiency inside of a digital workflow. That's what we do.
That's great. So now for companies that have self-service solutions, are you augmenting, replacing? How do you look at that world?
Yeah, so more and more things have moved into the digital workplace. Way back in the day, it was just like, hey, we have a digital presence. Now you can place an order, but we're not replacing self-service. What we're really doing is augmenting it, because you realize that as things become more complex, customers find themselves actually at critical moments in their journey where it's like, hey, can someone demystify a fee? Can someone help me make a decision? I'm looking for advice. I think self-service can be great at me finding information, making decisions on like, oh, I want to go down this path versus this path. Now you're looking for advice on actually completing that journey. So this is where we actually work very well aside in augmenting those self-service journeys. We like to call it sort of, there's the do-it-yourself. We're part of the do-it-together.
I like that, and I know myself and probably many people viewing have been in a situation where you're down a path on a website and you're ordering something, and somewhere mid-process you have a question about some of the options and what they mean or how restrictive they are or something like that, and you wish you could speak to someone, and what I end up doing is pausing that transaction. I have to open another tab, try to find the answer, then the phone or something else will happen, then I have to go back to the tab. What happens when I go back to the tab? It's timed out, so all my information's now gone. I have to re-log in. So it's a nightmare. If I could find a way, just like I can, for example, if I'm in a live shopping experience where I can just ask a question, like let's say I'm in a showroom and I'm looking at a vehicle and there's a salesperson there, I can say, hey, salesperson, what does this mean? What does that mean on the sticker? So you kind of provide that sort of functionality.
Yeah, we do. I mean, the thing is customers are like water. They take the path of least resistance, and when you're able to provide ways to interact with a business that are easy, effective, even the ability to connect emotionally with someone, because we know that people like to do business with people they know, like, and trust. And how do you provide that face of a business? So realizing that at those critical moments, to be able to connect with someone, to provide an easy way to get the information that you want, effective because you're not suddenly jumping over, getting a new tab, finding the phone number at the bottom of the website, making a phone call. What if we could actually do all this together, embedded into one workflow, make sure that it's in brand and we're extending that presence of who we are, because last I checked, you can buy anything from pretty much anyone, so you're not competing on price, features or product, you're really competing on the experience. And so how do you create that experience that's in brand, that allows you to connect with people in that human way and really make sure that you're driving the outcomes, because enterprises are facing a new imperative to stay relevant, to be competitive, and to grow revenue.
Now, speaking of the face of the brand or the face of the company, you recently added video, and I'm curious, how's that going and how does that differentiate?
Yeah, this past year, everyone was on video. My 87-year-old dad was on video, and he's become an expert on, are we going to do WebEx? Is this Zoom? Is this Microsoft Teams? He's an expert, and you're like, we had this amazing boost, tailwind, in what we're doing, but also in the fact that people actually realized, wow, this is actually really useful. It was the only modality that we had was to actually connect on video, and what we've done with adding video is to really provide that extra piece to be able to say, hey, you know what, in those worlds when you're connecting with someone, building relationships is really important. And so when we can add video to sit there and be like, hey Rich, it's Tom, I'm right here, I'm a real human being. Let's get to the problem, or let's talk about this opportunity, and to be able to do it securely, embedded and in brand, versus, hey, there's lots of other video tools that are out there that I could actually jump in. But again, you just said, I got to close down this tab, open up a new tab, or it could be another application. What if you could just do it inside that workflow that's embedded so that the customer doesn't have to do anything, they don't have to download anything. I, as the agent, can be like, hey Rich, let's just do this. Click, video's on.
Love it. Now, you guys are really strong in the financial sector. I've seen a bunch of customers that you have in that space, and that goes back a number of years. And we know that those organizations are typically targets also for ransomware attacks, any other kinds of hacks. How is a company like yours, that's kind of a third-party solutions provider for financial institutions and others, dealing with this whole cyber threat landscape?
Yeah, so the information that we get, companies are always like, hey, what information are you storing or recording? We're not. We actually have a really strict security policy that essentially has capabilities like masking critical information, so we're not exposing that to an agent. We're not storing or recording any of the information, so we're not actually taking and owning any of the customer data. We're basically a transport to be able to view, to see, to show that level of information. So we're able to go through things like ISO 27001 or PCI DSS level 1, all the different levels of certification, and be able to provide that level of confidence to an enterprise or to any business that we're a secure platform to work with.
And you really service a lot more customers than just banks, right? In a lot of other sectors.
Yeah, I mean, besides financial institutions, this past year we realized people are like, how do I connect with my doctor? How do I get enrolled in healthcare? How do I actually configure a car? So we've seen a huge outpouring from companies in the healthcare space, in retail, because retail was always like, hey, we have 6,000 stores. We're just going to let people go in. We're going to augment it with a website. But suddenly, when those things were shut down, you're like, oh my gosh, it's time. To compete, we actually have to come up with new ways of engaging customers where they are. That's like the most important part, is like, customers want convenience. Meet me on my schedule where I am. We're helping businesses do just that.
That's great. Now, you provide an important solution, but not a complete solution, because companies have lots of different software that they use, and obviously integration is important for every vendor. Yeah. So, and you integrate with CRM, you integrate with CPaaS and others. How is that integration helping your customers?
Part of this is like, how can you get a solution stood up quickly? We're a cloud native, 100% in the cloud, have been forever. We have managed packages, like in Salesforce or in ServiceNow and others, or we have open set of APIs so that you can actually build out the right solution embedded into the workflow, so that you have the ability to quickly stand up a solution in a relatively short period of time to be able to deliver this level of service. So having offerings that allow customers to really not just do best of breed, but to build and manage the specific workflow that they want to deliver to their customers, because they're the experts. We're not forcing them into like, use and follow this workflow. We give them the ability to really build and enhance the workflow that they've already created.
That's great. What else should we know?
Well, I'll tell you, part of what we are focused on is not just being able to do that see, show, and share. Is in the digital workflow, we're all about content, because we realize being able to see what someone's doing on a website or on a mobile app is great, but recognizing it's about content, and always has been about content, to be able to see what those customers need, whether it's PDF, whether it's Excel, through that entire workflow. We're all about making sure that we deliver a fully enriched content solution to be able to guide people through those critical moments.
Thanks so much for being here.
Hey Rich, thanks for having me. Look forward to being here for a couple more days.